I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I want to show you once again how local media's coverage of the latest Trump speech in Iowa once again failed miserably. They amplified his lies, they covered for his flaws and anti-American statements, and it really skews what the American people read and learn about from these events, because these events are no longer taking place in front of 30,000, 50,000 people. Like the event in Sioux City, where Donald Trump thought that he was in a different state. He thought he was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He was in Sioux City, Iowa. It was in a small theater. You can see the theater right there. But then it's amplified. The messaging, the propaganda, that doesn't even match what it is that he's saying. And I want to show you what took place. And, I'm reminded by this phrase caused by the late, great historian Hannah Arendt. She coined this phrase called the banality of evil, where some people who perpetuate propaganda at the highest levels and at all levels sometimes do it so cavalierly and without even forethought about what they may be doing is evil. And that's why it becomes the banality of email. It becomes normalized, the behavior. And so it's just someone going about doing their job. A reporter who says, you know what, I'm on the Trump beat, so I'm just going to write about the good things that Trump's saying without saying, wait a minute, is he saying any good things at all? What about this? That doesn't make sense. That's contradictory. That's problematic. He's saying the name of a different city. That seems a little bit unstable and unhinged. He's attacking NATO. That normally is disqualifying. Let me just give you the example, and I'll show you two examples. First, I'll give you a headline, and then I'll get into another article that was actually written by a writer in South Dakota. So here's the local press headline for Iowa from the Des Moines Register. The headline was, Trump in Sioux City fires up crowd with Iowa caucus win. In just under 90 minutes, the former president touched on the Israel-Hamas conflict, his legal woes, and the 2020 election. In the speech, Donald Trump attacked NATO, said he would not protect NATO from Russia. In the speech, Donald Trump attacked trans people and made grunting noises and acted disgusting as he was trying to mock people's behavior. During the speech, Donald Trump said that he would attack his political enemies and imprison them. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Here's the one I want to dig into, though, and this is affiliated with USA Today, I believe, but it's called the Sioux Falls Argus Leader, and it's written by someone named Annie Todd. And this is actually from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because look, Sioux Falls and Sioux City are fairly close by, although they're in different states. So that's why you have a South Dakota reporter in another red state covering what's going on in Sioux City. Here's the headline. Donald Trump shrugs off heckler in Sioux City, says we're going to win the Iowa caucuses. Okay, well, that's the headline. Let's get into the story itself. Sioux City, Iowa. Former president and current Republican frontrunner Donald Trump confidently told an enthusiastic crowd here that an Iowa caucus victory is in the bag, despite caucus day still nearly 80 days away. Quote, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses, but the big time is in November, he told a packed crowd wearing hats and flannel jackets at the Orpheum Theater in Sioux City. Quote, we really have to go to town. Trump said little more about the caucuses, instead speaking about his standing on the Israel-Hamas war and his pending legal battles. Even a heckler couldn't slow his roll. Those in attendance were stopped at 6 different tables spread across the historic theater's lobby and staircase, where volunteers asked if they signed up to caucus and if they would like to be caucus captains. Attendees also had the chance to snag a green beer koozie with yellow corn decoration saying back-to-back Iowa champ. The gaffe doesn't stop Donald Trump from whipping up caucus support. Before Trump jumped into the meat of his remarks, he made a small gaffe. We've done well here in Sioux Falls, he said, nodding to Iowa's neighbor in Northwest in South Dakota. Trump continued thanking Iowa elected officials for their endorsements as certain audience members shouted for him to remember that he was in Sioux City. By the way, you're saying that's a small gaffe? Senator Brad Zaun, District 22, was brought on stage by Trump and spoke about his excitement at being the first person in the country to endorse the former president. When he finished, he quickly pulled Trump and said something into his ear. Trump turned to the crowd. "Okay, Sioux City," he said, before plowing on with the rest of his speech, including encouraging the number of attendees not from Iowa to call their friends who lived in the state and tell them to caucus on January 15th. Ron Anderson, a registered Republican from Sioux City, has caucused 4 times and voted twice for Trump. Quote, "I'm that one vote, but that one vote makes a difference," the 70-year-old said about why he thinks caucusing is important. And then this is the next bold headline right here, as though this is like a fact that's being reported. Under Trump, conflicts in Ukraine, Israel would never happen. It's the bold heading, subheading. As the Israeli Defense Force continued its push into Gaza Sunday, 3 weeks after the Hamas-led attack on the country, Trump doubled down on his contention that the conflict would have never happened if he had remained in power. Quote, "Israel is under attack, and now we have terrorist sympathizers chanting their jihad slogans on the streets all over us," Trump said. Quote, "We will defend our country, we will defend our Judeo-Christian values, and we will defend Western civilization." Notably, she didn't state the line there where Trump then went on and really went on a xenophobic rant about his travel ban and banning speech and other things. Goes on to say, "Heckler can't stop Trump's roll. Trump wasn't deterred and chose to engage with a man who, during the event, loudly interrupted the former president while he spoke about the outcome of the 2020 election. How are you going to stop them from cheating when you are president?" the man who was filming on his phone yelled at the former president. "You couldn't stop it when you were president. How are you going to?" By the way, the heckler seems like he's a supporter of Donald Trump, buying into Trump's lies that the election was rigged and stolen, but no mention of that in this article. Trump told the man that his teams across the country were already watching to stop supposed election stealing. Trump has insisted that the 2020 election was stolen despite countless audits and court cases, saying there was no evidence of fraud that could have come close to changing the outcome that resulted in President Biden's win. Quote, "If we don't stop the cheating, you're not going to have a country," Trump said to shouts from the crowd that drowned out the rest of what the heckler was saying before he was escorted out by security. So that's basically the article that was written there, just regurgitating all of Donald Trump's lies. There was a minor point there where she checks him slightly and says, Trump insists this, but she doesn't go, "It is false." She goes, on the one hand, Trump insists this is the case. On the other hand, here's what the courts say. But, here are both sides of this when there isn't a both side.
Let's stop cutting down trees to make toilet paper. Now, it's true. Humans are cutting down tens of thousands of trees every day just to supply the American need for toilet paper. And the worst part is that when we use trees for toilet paper, it's just one use and done. It obviously can't be recycled or reused, so it just goes straight into our water system. That's why I made the switch to real paper. Real is 100% bamboo, so we're using a plant that grows fast, can be harvested and regenerated, think like the grass in your lawn, and doesn't impact the entire ecosystems of forests. Real is the best kind of eco-friendly product because it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing something to help the earth. In fact, it feels like an upgrade. It's shipped free to my door in plastic-free packaging, and I could schedule it on a subscription so that it comes exactly when I need it. My favorite thing about Real, without getting too personal, is that it's super comfortable in those sensitive areas. Real paper is available in easy, hassle-free subscriptions or for one-time purchases on their website. All orders are conveniently delivered to your door with free shipping in 100% recyclable plastic-free packaging. If you head to realpaper.com/Meidas and sign up for a subscription using my code Meidas at checkout, you'll automatically get 30% off your first order and free shipping. That's REEL paper.com/Meidas, or enter our promo code Meidas to get 30% off your first order plus free shipping. Let's make a change for good this year and switch to real paper. Real is a paper for the planet.
So look, I wanted to look at who wrote this story. And by all accounts, not that I know, who this person is at any level other than looking through the social media, this person appears to be not like a MAGA person, just seems to be a writer who is hardworking and is assigned to different beats and shows up. There's nothing that I saw right away on the social media that suggested anything that this was like a MAGA writer. But the article certainly comes off that way when you actually watch what went down at the speech. And so here, she's regurgitating Trump's words. Trump is pretty confident he's going to win Iowa nearly 80 days ahead of the caucus. Reporting from Sioux City today with the Des Moines Register and Lori Samantha, former President Trump is set to speak at 3 p.m., talk to a lot of people from Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska who made the trip to see the GOP frontrunner. And by the way, you can see that the theater is a relatively small theater. And I just looked at some of the other stories that she covered. Mental health. I got to tour the new crisis stabilization care in Yanktown last week. In the center's first days, they had 18 patients seeking mental health crisis help. It's a fine story. She covered Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, coming to South Dakota, touring critical infrastructure projects that have been built in the East River. And she covered that story. So it isn't like she's just like a Trumper at all. But the article certainly reads like that. And here's the thing. I'm just going to show you, compare that story to here's what went down during the event. Here, Trump takes credit for ending Roe v. Wade, taking away women's reproductive rights. I mean, how do you not cover, if you're covering the event, something that's going to affect your citizens, how do you not cover that Trump is bragging about ending Roe v. Wade and taking away a woman's right to reproductive care and make the decisions for herself? Here, play this clip.
I will continue to protect innocent life. Look what we did with the Supreme Court.
Here, Donald Trump claims in this speech that she was at, Sioux City, not Sioux Falls, that electric cars are no good because you can only drive them for 10 minutes. That's just false. Like if you're a reporter and you're watching that, why wouldn't you write about like, hey, and he's lying about electric vehicles and just saying that you can only drive them for 10 minutes? Like, that's not true. Here, play the clip.
The happiest day for a person in an electric car is the first 10 minutes after they get the charge. After that, they become a scrambled bunch of maniacs that say, where do we get the next charge?
This is where Donald Trump is mocking Americans, and he does this really despicable impression. And again, there's no mention of that, like this is like a hate-filled speech and that this is so unbecoming of the presidency. Just what I'm about to show you. In past times, this would be disqualifying. Well, not only disqualifying, I couldn't fathom that there would be a candidate who behaves in this manner. I mean, there were times where if a candidate spelled potato the wrong way, they were done. But this is what we have. Play the clip.
And they're proud, they're clapping, they're going crazy. I can't do it, Mom, I can't. Boom.
Here, Donald Trump again praises Viktor Orban, an authoritarian in Hungary who's not a friend to the United States of America. And then Trump claims falsely that Hungary has a border with Russia, which is false. Play this clip.
Viktor Orban, did anybody ever hear of Viktor Orban? He's the head of Hungary. Hungary fronts on both Ukraine and Russia.
Here in this speech where the writer attended, Trump says he threatened not to support America's NATO allies against Russia. I mean, again, that would be my headline. Imagine if it was the other way. Imagine if President Biden gave a speech in Iowa or Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and gave a speech that says he would not support NATO. If that wasn't the headlines, we would all be like, that's media malpractice. But Donald Trump says that on a frequent basis, and the media just covers for him. And I don't get it. Here, play this clip.
I'm not going to protect you any longer. And I remember the head of a country stood up and said, does that mean that if Russia attacks my country, you will not be there? That's right. That's what it means. I will not protect you. And the money came.
And here it wasn't a minor gaffe. I mean, it was Donald Trump believing he's in the wrong place, that he's in the wrong city. He thought he was in Sioux Falls. He's in Sioux City. He thought he was in South Dakota. He's in Iowa. Play this clip.
And a very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. And thank you. So, Sioux City, let me ask you.
And finally, just so you see, this is just Donald Trump on foreign policy. This was a supercut that was done by Morning Joe. It's about 60 seconds. Shows you all the things that Donald Trump's been saying over the past few weeks about foreign policy. Praising enemies, not knowing where countries are located over and over again. Yet, other than MeidasTouch Network, and now I think some legacy media is starting to pick it up, it's not being reported. You go back and watch some of the other segments that I've done on local media, that they all follow that format that I read. And that's why I'm like, obviously it's a person who wrote it, but it has the vibe of like it being AI generated, because they're all like this cookie cutter puff piece on him versus, hey, he wants to undermine NATO. Hey, he is mocking Americans. Hey, he is threatening to go after political enemies. Hey, he is threatening this, like the stuff that's red alert, right? The stuff that indicates, if you're a writer, that if this individual comes into power and he calls you the enemy of the people, that he's coming after you. Like, I just don't get how you don't see that and how this is okay. I don't get that. Here, play this clip of the supercut.
Does that mean that if Russia attacks my country, you will not be there? That's right. That's what it means. I will not protect you. Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And he's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey. He's a very strong man, as you know, from Hungary. And he's the boss. There's no doubt about it. Hungary fronts on both Ukraine and Russia. If you spill a drop of American blood, we will spill a gallon of yours. You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart. Hezbollah and Hamas. Hamas, has anyone ever heard of? Hamas terrorists. I want a shield over our country. If you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country, and you are not getting in. What happened yesterday was incredible. I mean, so many people killed. Very big number. Very, very big number. And vicious, too. Vicious. Young children just slaughtered. It's terrible what's going on.
And thank you for watching. Hit subscribe. We are on our way to 2 million subscribers, thanks to your support. And you can check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch as well. And have a great day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.